JRF, it's 120 questions. 100 questions will be from both economics and extension, and 20 questions will be from the GK. For SRF, it's again the same. 100 and 120 questions will be there. 100 questions will be from economics and ABM, and 20 questions will be from general knowledge. Whereas for ARS, it's of 150 questions. Each question carries 1 mark, and there will be 1/3 negative, and time allotted will be 2 hours. And regarding the prelims or net ARS examination, the question paper will be of a basic framework. Most of the questions will be from UG background. Say about 50% questions will be from UG background, and the rest will be from the portions like macro and growth and development. For the first time when I gave back in 2018, it was more questions were from macroeconomics and from growth and development. Whereas this time the questions were from, like, you can say 50% of the questions were from marketing. So you cannot take chance and leave anything. So you need to be thorough with all the portions which they have mentioned in the syllabus. While coming to the today's presentation, they have allotted me 2 topics: economic systems and introduction to economics. These are the pretty basic concepts in the economics. Basics in the sense, what is the nature, scope, introduction, these things. We cannot expect much questions from this part in ARS or SRF. But for JRF, there are some good amount of questions from this part, as they are very basic and straight questions will be asked from this. Let's start the presentation. Introduction to economics. So what is economics? Like house and making, which means to manage. And many of the economics they have defined economics in by taking into different perspectives, and they have given out their own definition. Something which we can universally call it as a definition is economics is a study of the ways in which people use resources to satisfy their wants. What are the activities? What are the basic activities in the economics? That is, there are 4 activities: consumption, production, exchange, and distribution. Consumption is deriving the utility from the goods and services which we got from production, and production is producing goods and services which possess utility, and exchange is buying and selling of goods and services. That is nothing but market, which is an interlink between consumer and producer. And distribution is share of income by the 4 factors of production, that are land, labor, capital, and organization, through whom we took help of and produced the goods and services. And here there is a term utility. These concepts are pretty much basic concepts and kind of revision for everyone. We have 4 kinds of utility, that is time utility, place utility, form utility, and position utility. Questions are very important for JRF students when it comes to utility. In the form, questions will be asked from utility part for the JRF students. There are in the literature or in many textbooks, we can see 4 common definitions of economics: wealth, welfare, scarcity, and growth definitions. And most importantly, first 3 are very important. You have to remember the scientists' names. Wealth definition, it is given by Adam Smith, whom we call father of economics, in his book Wealth of Nations, 1776. And the proponents of his definition are J.B. Say, J.S. Mill, Walker, and B. Price, whom we call as classical economists. They do agree with this definition. In the definition, they give primary emphasis to wealth, but not welfare. Welfare is in the second part, and the definition here, it is as like this. It examines that part of individual and social action which is most closely connected with the attainment and with the use that material requisites of the well-being. It is this definition is given in the background of mercantilists. When you study the school of economic thoughts in economics, mercantilists are the first to come. So what they say is, for a country to develop, it should export more and import less. And the primary source of wealth concentration is in the form of gold, silver, or whatever we call metals accumulation is um, can be taken as a proxy for economic growth of a country. So in that context, the definition of Adam Smith's wealth definition is suitable. And there are also criticisms for this wealth definition. uh, Walras calls it as element of pure economics, and it is not an unscientific one. Kyle Ruskin, he criticizes it as dismal science, and Kyle also calls it as gospel of mammon. Mammon is a synonym for riches in Bible. So what he says is, it is purely about riches, and nowhere it concerns the ordinary man. So these criticisms, these are also important. They will give us in a line, gospel of mammon, criticize it by whom, for which definition. So the criticism and these lines are also pretty important. The next definition to come is welfare definition. It is given by Alfred Marshall, and also the books are also very important. You can see in SRF, I mean in ARS and in UGC, there will be a short question of books and authors. Anyone will be asked. In his book of Principles of Economic Science, he has defined economics as study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. So economics is one side a study of wealth, and another side more importance is given to the study of man. That means they emphasize human welfare as a key in their welfare definition. And there are also criticisms for this definition. A restricted scope of economics considered only material goods. There are also some goods which do not provide human welfare. Suppose if we produce more of liquor and cigarette, they do not provide any human welfare. And welfare is subjective, it cannot be measured. For a poor man, if you are providing him any shares of companies or something like that, he don't know what to do. For a poor man, to promote his welfare, you need to provide him food, you need to provide him water, you need to provide him sanitation. Whereas for a rich man, he already possesses all of these: food, water, house, sanitation. For him, if you provide some shares of some company or something like that, that is a welfare for him. So welfare is subjective, and we cannot measure it in a whole situation. Like in a context, for a whole of a system, we cannot measure the welfare. Scarcity definition, this is given by Lionel Robbins in his book Nature and Significance of Economic Science. And he defines it as, economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends. Ends here are wants. Wants are unlimited for the human being, and scarce. Scarce are the resources through which he satisfies his wants. And uh, and yes, these resources have alternate uses to which he can be put into, and he satisfies his wants. That is why these means have the opportunity costs. If you are getting if you are using one resource and getting one want, and then you are not able to get other one. So this is the crux of opportunity cost. And the growth definition, which is given by Paul Samuelson, and he's the first economist to win a Nobel Prize in 1970. And his book name is Economics. So he defines economics as a study of how people and society end up choosing with or without money to employ scarce productive research that could have alternate uses to produce various commodities and distribute them for consumption now or in future among various persons and groups in society. So in his definition, what what is it important, he is taking into the consideration of time element here. So time element is the important thing in the growth definition. Also, he gives definition for economic growth in his series of um chapters in his books Economics. He also analyzes costs and benefits of improving patterns of resource use. Well, now come to the partition of micro and macroeconomics. And this partition was given by Ragnar Frisch. He's a statistician, mathematician, and also an economist. He's the first to coin term micro and macroeconomics in 1933. And it is the micros and macros mean small and large. They are derived from Greek. Micros means individualistic and macros means aggregative. So in microeconomics, we study about individual firms, households, individual prices, and particular commodity. Uh, and microeconomics is also based on the assumption of full employment and ceteris paribus. Full employment, it is required for most of the economic theories, mostly in micro as well as in micro. Whereas ceteris paribus, why we take into account is in case of physical or natural sciences, we have a controlled environment and we do experiments in a controlled environment. Whereas in social science, we do not have that controlled environment. You see this society or whatever we call as a population group which we consider for the research, they do vary very significantly. So for us to construct any model or do any research, there are certain assumptions which we need to make in a priori, and for that we take this ceteris paribus as condition. This was given by Adam Smith. And microeconomics was popularized by David Ricardo, Alfred Marshall, J.B. Say, and J.S. Mill. Most of them are classical economists. Microeconomics, also called as price theory. Under microeconomic theory, we have three partitions, that is product pricing, factor pricing, and theory of economic welfare. Under product pricing, we see theory of demand, under which we go through Marshallian demand, Hicksian demand, and then Sitowitzky's. This comes under theory of demand, and then theory of production, input, output combinations, and also costs, different types of cost, average costs, marginal costs, and then modern cost theories. So these things we will study in production cost, under cost. And when you come to factor pricing, we determine how much wages or how much rent, interest, and profits to be paid for the factors of uh, production. Under theory of welfare, we see Walrasian different equilibriums and general equilibrium models, and these are the things we study in economic welfare. And in macroeconomics is the study of economic system as a whole, and macroeconomic studies aggregate values like national income, national output, general price level, total consumption, saving, and investment of a country. And macroeconomics is also called income and employment theory. James Keynes popularized macroeconomics. He is also known as the father of modern economics. Uh, you can summarize as microeconomics if it explains a tree in a forest. Economics explains all the trees in the forest. Under macroeconomic theory, we study theory of income and employment, theory of general price level and inflation, theory of economic growth, open economy. Under theory of income and employment, we study theory of consumption, theory of investment. Both together, we under theory of consumption again we have several theories of consumption. Also under theory of investment, we have couple of investment theories. Both we club and there are few theories for business cycles as well. Whereas for theory of general price level and inflation, there are theories for demand of mm, theories for, especially for demand for money, and supply of money is pretty much restricted by the central bank. And theory of economic growth, there are theories given by Harold Domer um, and Calder's model, and neoclassical models by Solo and Passanetti. And fourth component is open economy, where we deal with balance of payments and foreign exchange rates. So there are two methods which are employed to study economics, that is deductive method and inductive method. This is a pretty famous and frequently asked question. So under deductive we go from general to particular analysis, whereas in inductive we go from particular to general analysis. This thing should be remembered, as this is a favorite question for every examiner. Under deductive method, we deduce conclusions from the truths or established facts, and then we come to the particular of those truths and facts. Whereas deduction is a descending process in which we proceed from general to principle to particular. Deductive method is also called as a priori method, and it is also called as abstract or analytical method. Ricardo was the first economist who applied this method. Examples for deductive can be a law of diminishing returns, where you can see we can summarize a whole bunch of people, and then we are giving a law called as law of diminishing returns. Whereas inductive is particular to general. In this method involves process of reasoning from particular to general. It is an ascending process. This method involves four stages: observation, formation of hypothesis, generalization, and verification. This method was introduced by German historical school, Roscher, Hilbrand, and Frederick. This is a statistical method and dynamic method, which mostly we use today. Like we take a sample and then we generalize it for population. Um, and then we proceed. So this is how particular to general. From sample, we are inferring for a population. And how do we take economics as like economics in both is both positive and normative science. So positive science, it only describe what it is, and normative science prescribe what it ought to be. Positive science does not indicate what is good or what is bad to the society, whereas normative science, it makes distinction between what is good and what is bad, and it prescribes what should be done to promote human welfare. So for a more realistic explanation, we will take usual scenarios which happens. So how much will a new petrol tax raise the price of petrol? कितना टैक्स बढ़ाने से कितना प्राइस ऑफ पेट्रोल बढ़ेगा? And whereas in case of normative, we see should there be a new tax on petrol, and in case of positive, whereas will an increase in the minimum wage increase unemployment. In case of normative, we ask the same question as should there be an increase in the minimum wage. In positive economics, we see why is the price of popcorn rupees 4.20 paise, whereas in normative, we question what should be the price of popcorn be by taking several aspects. Uh, we come to a conclusion of how much should be the price. So therefore, economics is positive as well as normative. It's both sides. And these are some basic concepts which you would have read in most of the books. So want, there are wants and the classification of goods. I have taken wants and I'm not going to barge upon these things as you have already read these things in books. Wants are for a man bundle of desires. Human desires culminates into wants. Wants are unlimited and they are classified into necessities, comfortables, and luxuries. Want is a means of expressing a need. It is a specific need for something. Characteristics of human wants are unlimited. If one want is satisfied and another springs out, and any particular want is satisfiable. Although human wants are infinite, but it is possible to satisfy a single want at a particular time. Wants are complementary. We often require more than one commodity to satisfy ourselves. Most of our goods are required to be used in combination, which is what this is a basis for the indifference curves. Wants are competitive. Wants are unlimited, but means to satisfy them, that means resources to satisfy them, are limited. Wants cannot satisfy all wants at a particular time. Wants compete for resources. Wants change with people, place, and time. And wants are alternatives. Wants increase with progress of society as there are new technologies developed and people demand new kinds of goods and services. Wants differ in intensity and urgency. Unlimited wants occupy different positions in hierarchy. A man wants to satisfy first the most basic needs. Food, clothing, and shelter are the basic needs. So here is the circle of wants. So initially, he desires for some wants, or say he has some needs. He puts some efforts. He acquires some resources, and then through which he fulfill his wants, through which he gets satisfaction, and then again new wants build up. So this is a circle of wants. This is a classification of human wants. Questions can be there from this part for JRF students. Not many questions will be there for SRF and ARS. Uh, so the human wants can be classified into three things. So here the questions will be for, like they can give you the example and they can ask you whether it is necessity, comfort, or luxury. Necessities, comforts, and luxuries.
चलो ऑनलाइन से
There is somebody's mic on. Gopal, can you please turn off mic? So yeah, necessities. These include most essential things and further subdivided into following categories: necessities of existence, food, clothing, and shelter, or necessities of existence, and necessities of efficiency, using of computers in teaching, necessity of convention, social rituals and customs which we follow in day-to-day life. Comforts to make life more easy, pleasant, and more fuller. Human beings go for additional wants. After meeting necessities, people go for acquiring things of comfort. A fan is a necessary of efficiency in offices, but AC is a comfort. Luxury. Often things of comfort are not enough. As income increases, people try to acquire more and more of luxuries. Preferences, standard of living, stage of economic development of country, time period, etc. These determine human needs and also luxuries. For example, shoes are comforts to walk, but buying a Louis Vuitton or Balenciaga branded shoes, they are luxuries. Um, so it's like I have planned for a small introduction or brushing up of the topics in the beginning, and here we will go through some questions. There are a few tricky questions and few easy questions. It's like we will take 1 minute for every question, and I will post the question. You can take 30 seconds to read out, and you can drop answers, or you can turn on your mics. First question is which of the following statements about factors of production is false? Please be aware, in true or false questions, most of us will do mistakes very often in this, and these are pretty easy mistakes we will do in the exam. So yeah, the term factors of production is another term for resource, which is true. The factor of production termed labor means human resource, which is also true. The factors of production termed land means natural resource. Yes, of course, it's true. The factors of production termed capital means the money which the owners of firm need in order to set up their firms. So, so this is the false thing. Capital does not mean it is only money. There are two forms of capital: human capital, man made capital, and human capital. Under man made capital, we can take money as a proxy and we can buy from it. Whereas physical capital, it includes education, doctors, lawyers. These categories comes under which under it. Uh, is there anybody going to respond, or I should just explain all the questions in the same pattern, or will you respond to the questions?
Please, sir, explain it just.
Okay, sir. So, which of the following statements about the use of resource is not one of the key questions in economics? How are resources used? So, yes, this is one of the key question. And what are resources used for, and to whom we are using resources? But we don't get the question of where the resources are used. So the correct option for this thing would be where are resources used. So this is not the thing which we are taking into account about when we are making statement about use of resources. Which of the following statements about producers is false? So it is households, yes, they produce many goods and services for themselves, and people set up some producers who do not aim to make profits. For example, you can take agriculture as an example for this. And governments arrange the production of some goods and services. In our economy in India, you can see several of the institutions where government is there. And the option C, which is odd one or false, is all the goods and services consumed in any country are produced by its own producers. In the present situation, no country is able to produce all of its goods and services. It somehow or the other way has to depend on other country, since all the resources which it has cannot produce all the goods and services which it needs. Which of the following statements is true? Microeconomics is concerned chiefly with the economy as a whole, which is false. And macroeconomics is concerned chiefly with individual markets, which is also false. Government have no influence over market prices, which is also false, as government has certain influence on market prices. When economics study the pricing market, their chief aims are to understand why the price is what it is and why it may change. And yes, this statement is true. Which of the following statements is false? An economic model is theory based on key variables and expressed in formal terms, which is true. An economic model is tested by seeing how accurate its predictions are, and which is also true. And this word ceteris paribus means other things remaining the same, which is also true. Thus, option C, testing economic models is rarely tricky, which is not so, as often testing economic models is a tricky job. You need to take care for several of the unobserved things. So, what is meant by the term final goods and services? This is a pretty straightforward question. The same as term intermediate goods and services, which is false. The same as the term consumer goods and services, which is also false. All goods and services except those traded second-handed, which is also false, because second-handed goods are not final goods and services, and goods and services which are finished as far as the economy is concerned. Yes, and fourth option is the correct one. What is meant by intermediate goods and services? This is also a straightforward question, a counter to the question number 6. The same as capital goods such as plant, building, vehicles, and machinery. No, capital goods are different than intermediate goods, and all inputs bought by firms, including labor and raw materials. So you cannot take all the inputs. So this option is also wrong, and the inputs nowhere it is coming into the picture. And the option B, products which one firm buys of another from another and then uses up its own products. So it is like the intermediaries. For making a book, you need to buy paper from one firm and then you are trying to make a book. So this is a paper is an intermediate good and service here. So the option B is a correct one. And from here, I have taken direct questions. So these are pretty simple and easy questions. Which economists divided economics in two branches of micro and macro on the basis of economic activity? I have already discussed this. This is Ragnar Frisch, who is a mathematician, statistician, and then he's an economist. Which of the following is studied under microeconomics? So it's an obvious straightforward question. We deal about individual units and not economic aggregates or national income. Which of the following economic activities are included in the subject matter of economics? It is economic activities related to unlimited wants, economic activities limited to limited resources. Yes, these two are the correct options. So the option would be both A and B. Micros, which means small, belongs to Arabian word, Greek word, German word, or English word. It is mostly Greek. It is Greek. So things to remember are most of the words which are derived are from Greek and Latin. So what some crude thing to remember is wherever you can see OS in the end, they are mostly from the Greek literature. So you will be confused with Greek and Latin because most of the key terms which they come in our studies are there mostly derived from Greek and Latin. So be aware of Greek and Latin. So which of the following statements is true? Human wants are infinite, resources are limited, a scarcity problem gives birth to choice. So which is also through which we study the opportunity cost. So the option for this is all of these. Which is the central problem of an economy? Allocation of resources, yes. Optimum utilization of resources, yes. Economic development, yes. So it is option D, all of these. Mention the name of the curve which shows economic problem. So it is production possibility curve. I have not taken down the production possibility curve in my part. It will be taken up in production under production part. So this is one of the frequently asked question. That is why I have put down here. It will be asked in UGC net and also in ARS net. Also for subjective questions, this is a frequent question in economic service, or even if you take ARS, this is most frequently asked question. Which of the following is studied under macroeconomics? National income, yes. Full employment, yes. Total production, yes. So we study all of these. Which of the following is a branch of microeconomics? Product determination, price determination, and economic welfare. Yes, the option is all of these. I haven't marked it here. And who said economics is a science of wealth? So like I said, the definitions, they can take hold of the definition and put it straight away in the question, and they can ask for the scientist names. This pattern is followed in UGC net, where you can see one or two questions of this kind. They will put entire definition and they will ask for scientists. And wealth definition, it was obviously given by Adam Smith, according to whom economics is a science of human welfare. And we have seen it is Alfred Marshall. What I have kept here are questions. They are very simple, and I have asked straight questions. But in the exam, they won't be asking questions like this. They will put the entire definition, and you will have to figure out either either if it's wealth or welfare definition, and then you will have to answer it. So for that, you have to go through the textbook and the definitions. Consumer behavior is studied in, and this is of course in microeconomics. The reason for downward shape of production possibility curve is it is increasing opportunity cost. So yeah, like I was telling you, why what makes production possibility curve a favorite question for examiners is it has certain aspects which are used in most of the researches. So that is why it is one of the famous question and favorite question for the examiners. So it will be dealt in the later portions, or you can mark down this topic and you can study it later. So this is with respect to introduction of economics. So sir, like we will take 5 minutes break, and then we will continue with the economic systems. So yeah, welcome back. And now the second topic is about economic systems. We do not have much here, much here in these economic systems. We have three economic systems, that is capitalistic economy, mixed economy, and free market. Um, and the third one is socialistic economy or communalistic economy. So economic systems. So before going to the presentation, let's just brief about what are goods, services, resources, and scarcity. Uh, Goods and services are or the things which we consume in day-to-day life uh, to satisfy our wants, and resources are the means through which we procure goods and services. And scarcity is the resources are not unlimited or they are not infinite. So they are scarce, which they do possess opportunity cost. Okay. And the definition of economic systems, the method used by a society to produce and distribute goods and services, or we can say in a crude language, how the government tells us what we can get and how we can get it. And all economic systems must consider the following questions: what goods and services to produce in an economy, and how they will, how, what are the means and what are the ways to produce them, and who will get them. Suppose if there is a product produced, and who is the ultimate consumer of that good, and how much will they produce now and how much will be produced later, because of externality problems and because of time element, because of the compounding and discounting problems, we cannot produce all of the good at one stretch and use it later. So the production must be taken down at certain points of bundles of time. And each economic system answers these questions in a different way. That is why we have mainly three different economic systems in the present day world. And so like I said, three in the present day world there are three basic economic systems. And prior to this, we had a traditional economy or barter economy. Economic questions are answered by mostly habits and customs, the way it has always been done. And children work the same jobs parents work. Like if your father is an agriculturalist, the children would do the same thing. So if he is a blacksmith, yes, the children would do the same. If he is a king, only his successors are meant to be the kings and no one else. So and one of the key characteristics is fear of exchange. For example, still Eskimos, the Amish, Pygmies, Bush people, these are the primitive tribes which they were present before. uh, and here, the medium of exchange, we have money as a medium of exchange now. Whereas in the barter economy, it is for goods for goods. So if you give me two kilos of rice, you will be exchanged for 2 kilos of wheat. So 10 kilos of rice for say one kg of 1 or 2 kg of iron. So this is a kind of exchange system they had in the primitive days. So the next to come is market economy or capitalistic economy. The key proponents of this type of social system are Adam Smith and the classical economists. They are the key proponents of this type of economic system. And economic questions are answered by individual buyers and sellers. Supply and demand influence the economy. People act out of self-interest. Motive for profit is the uh, highlighting topic to be dealt under free market economy or capitalistic economy. uh, and this is also known as free enterprise or capitalism. So the US, Western Europe, and Japan are the classic examples of free market or capitalistic economies. You can call whatever they say. The developed economies are all capitalistic economies. And features of the free market economy or economic freedom. Individuals have the right to choose. You can choose what to produce, you can choose what to consume, and you can also choose the means to produce. But there is, of course, there is government element just to check if if the production is in permissible limits, and the produce is having permittable or say it's under safe standards. Otherwise you have every freedom to produce and consume whatever you want. Competition, since there is freedom, there is by virtue we have the competition here. So more than one producer of goods and services, so there is, of course, there is competition. Private property, individuals have the right to own their property, including business. Whereas in case of socialistic uh, nature, we do not have this thing, as most of the properties it is owned by government. Whereas in capitalistic, anybody can own any amount of property. And self-interest, individuals make decisions based on what is best for them. It is not influenced by anybody, and it is purely by his own self-interest. Voluntary exchange, individuals may freely buy and sell goods. There is no government here, so it's there is a open market. Anybody can come, anybody can buy, and anybody can sell. Profit motive, as I told, this is one of the key thing under capitalistic scenario. So all these factors make economy a more um, rapid to development. That is why most of the countries which have adopted capitalistic economics, they have forwarded at a great pace. So you can see now most of the country, our country also trying to follow the same path by privatizing most of the public sectors and trying to get in the verge of capitalism. But there are also criticisms for this. There, at the same time, they have criticisms for this capitalism as well. And the third set of economic system is command economy or socialism. So USSR, I mean, for former Soviet Union and China are some of the classical examples. Um, you, there is nowhere, and the proponents of this command economy are Marxist. And Marxist system of through the Marxist economy, these the proponents of command economy or socialism, they come up. The government answers the basic economic questions and advantage, able to act quickly in emergencies, provide for all people. Disadvantages, inefficient, no incentive to work hard or be creative. And features of command economy or government regulation of some businesses and practices. For example, wages, the government will fix how much wage rate to be produced for what kind of job and how many labor hours are to be maintained, and safe practices. And government limits certain choices. Some people cannot buy certain things, say arms and ammunition. Debadjuti Saha, can you please mute? And Amruta, can you please mute? And Amruta, can you please mute? Yeah. So government limits certain choices, like you cannot buy certain things and you cannot produce certain goods and services. Say arms and ammunitions, you cannot produce under a command economy. Government provide aid to the needy, medical care, Medicaid, and welfare. This is one of the most advantageous thing under the command economy. So the next comes is the mixed economy. So in general, no economy is a pure market, pure command, or pure traditional elements. We were saying capitalistic under capitalistic people are free to choose anything, whatever they want, and they're free to produce whatever they want and free to consume whatever they want. But in the ideal situation, in the realistic situation, it is not so, as there is interference of government restricts how much to produce, and what are the ways to produce, how much what are the limits to produce, uh, by taking care of externalities, environment, how much, what are the permissible limits in which you can produce. So here the element of government comes in even under pure market. Under pure command, we can so we say China is purely socialistic economy, but if you see clearly, China is a pseudo capitalist. Their policies are mostly capitalistic policies, but they they label it as socialistic policies. So no economy is purely a command or a socialistic or pure market economy. Somehow they have the blend of both the elements, and a mixed economy is the one which has both the features of capitalism and communism. And most democratic countries fall under this category. And examples are India, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and UK are some of the examples for this. So what I thought is how, for example, if you take one product, how different economic systems uh, they interfere in choosing or producing this. So I am taking this by example of a pizza. So how would my pizza function under different economic systems? So my pizza in a free market, say in capitalistic market, I answered the basic economic questions like I determine how much cheese and pepperoni goes into the pizza. I determine the quality of the cheese and pepperoni. So I can say you can use this kind of cheese and pepperoni, and I set my employee wages. So if I am owning a outlet, say Domino's, say I will decide how much of wages to be given and how many hours he can work. An individual can work. Whereas in a pizza in a command economy, the government answers basic questions like government sets amount of cheese and pepperoni that goes into the pizza, and the government determines quality of cheese and pepperoni. And here again, the government set employee wages, and government sets business hours. But the problem here is, how do the government know? What does the government know about pizza? I mean, um, the key thing is there are n number of things to be taken care in economy. Government cannot address all of these things. So there is a inherent tendency of inefficiency, and there is a problem of corruption and black market in command economy. Whereas pizza in a mixed economy, government and I both answer the basic economic questions. I determine the amount of cheese and pepperoni on the pizza, whereas government determines the quality of cheese and pizza. I set employee wages, but government set minimum wages for employees, below which you cannot go and above which you can go. I determine business hours. Government determines whether I am safe to be open or not. So yeah, these are some of the questions I have taken from economic systems, and they're also pretty straightforward questions I have added here. The feature of price mechanism is prevalent in, and price mechanism under capitalistic market, it is price mechanism is a key thing. Based on price mechanism, these capitalistic systems work. They work based on the interacting forces of supply and demand. So the answer for this is capitalism. Modern corporation mobilizes its capital by selling its, yes, shares, debentures, bonds, or some of the instruments which it is mobilized by government. but not any corporations. Shares, as you must all be aware of what are shares, which the companies give. Debentures, debentures are some of instruments through which they are like securities given by companies to a buyer of debenture, for which, suppose if they raise 1 lakh amount of debentures, and the person who buys it, he is entitled by a company to pay him certain amount of for his debentures, just like interest, but not exactly interest. These debentures come into play. So the option for this is share and debenture. Socialism is a set system under which economic activities are controlled by the. It is also a straightforward question. The option for this is government, whereas price mechanism and market mechanism are the features of capitalistic economy. Primary goals of socialism is to earn profit, to minimize expenditure, and to promote social welfare. So, under socialism, its prime goal is to promote social welfare. To earn profit, it's an goal of capitalistic economy. Mm, okay, there is a wrong question number. In which type of economic system desire to earn profit is the chief motive of all economic activities? Like I said, it is capitalism, and it is also a pretty straightforward question. Under socialism, all activities decisions are taken by. So the correct option for this is government and not by market forces. Mixed economic system can suffer from the evil of inefficiency, corruption, black money. Yes, all these three are the demerits of the mixed economy. You can find these three things in our economy, in Indian economy. Price is determined by force of supply, forces of demand. Yes, both A and B are the answer for price for the question. Self-interest of the consumer depends upon what maximization. So, sale, satisfaction, profit. Always consumer tries to maximize his satisfaction. So, the answer for this question is satisfaction. Private sector and public sector coexist together, formation into which economic system? So the answer to this question is mixed economy. It is a blend of socialism and capitalism. In the present world, there are most economies it is mixed economies, and these are also democratic economies in which people have the right to hold and use private property in any manner. Like I said before, you have more of private property rights under capitalism than socialism or mixed economy. So the answer for this is capitalism. Under socialism, the central problems of the economy are solved by. So yeah, the options are price mechanism, central authority, Narendra Modi and Sonia Gandhi. I just added up. So it is by the central authority. Most of the problems will be dealt and solved by this central authority under socialism. What is meant by invisible hand? So invisible hand, it is given by Adam Smith. So yes, and again, this is one of the things which to be taken up in growth and development part. Invisible hand, what it says is and the option for this is price mechanism. So and the proponents of Adam Smith, what they say is suppose if the price is given to be acted freely, that means if there are no restrictions from government or any legislations by the government on price, so the price acts as invisible hand, and there is efficiency in all aspects of the economy. Unequal distribution of income is an important feature of which type of economic system? Yes, one of the demerit of capitalistic or free market economic system is unequal distribution of income. So the option for this is capitalism. Indian economy is, so this is again a simple and straightforward question. It's mixed economy. So yeah, thank you. So there were not much things to be taught in economic system. So if you have any questions, you are free to ask.
Okay, sir. I would like to request all participants. Yes. If someone has any query regarding this session, please ask.
Yes, I have a question.
Topic is open for discussion.
Yes, someone has asked a question. Kuruva Parashuram, sir, we know. Sir, am I audible? Ma'am, am I audible now? Am I audible clearly? Dr. Rita Rathod.
Hello.
Sir, am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay, ma'am. So yeah, taking up the
Yes,
question,
I am
sir, we
Praveen, sir.
know,
If someone has any queries regarding this topic, please ask to sir.
yeah, we know India is a mixed economy, but now government is selling assets or public properties to the private companies by saying government don't have business to do business, right? That's why we are selling properties. This means India is going to be capitalistic economy in future. Is it good for India, mainly middle class and poor people? Do you support this? So yeah, this question is like it is a very subjective question, and to answer this will be will and here in this platform this is not a right to answer, I believe. But what I say is, in a long run, capitalistic economies are much more better performing. Archana, can you please mute your mic?
पूर्ण हात ते आणि
Archana.
हातात फरक होते अंगाचा.
So yeah, Mr. Kuruva Parashuram. So it is a highly controversial question at this arena to answer. So what I would say is, in the long run, capitalistic economies are better performing. By
मग काय
taking the
म्हणा
experiences of those countries, we can infer what the government
तसं नाही
doing is good. You can contact me personally. I will share you few articles why the proponents of why
तसंच
it
नाही
is
माझं
the
तसं बघा.
need of the hour to do to privatize the public properties.
हा भरपूर आहे ना.
Hello,
Yeah.
Archana madam. If you have any query, please ask. Otherwise, mute.
So any other questions? So if you have any questions related to exam, like if you have anything like uncomfortable to ask on here, even you can take my contact number or you can take my mail and text me. I'll be happy to answer you over there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Hmm.
Okay, I request all participants, please ask if you have any query regarding
Yeah.
these sessions.
Yes, ma'am. I'll
Otherwise,
share
we
my
will.
number.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Yes, sir. If someone hasn't any question regarding this session,
Yeah.
we will carry on forward.
Okay, Praveen.
Okay. First of all, I am extremely sorry to all participants for today's inconvenience. Dear student, Giridhar sir has explained in very simple manner the basic concept and aspect of economics in today's session. And sir, definitely it will help for all participants for not only for NET exams but various competitive examination. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
And
Praveen. Thank you.
yes, and I am also request all participants for join for our next section at 3:30. Okay.
1 second. Sir has 1 second. I'll share my number and mail IDs.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So yeah, sir, I have shared my number and mail ID. And anybody, if you are interested, you are always welcome to contact me. You can text me or you can mail me. So I'll take some time to teach you or I can mentor you. So thank you everyone.
Thank you. Okay, dear participant, we will meet at 3:30 for our next afternoon session.